The child custody industry's dirty little secret is parental alienation. It is child abuse. The National Center for State Court states that parental alienation is a strategy whereby one parent intentionally displays to the child unjustified negativity aimed at the other parent. The purpose of the strategy is to damage the child's relationship with the other parent and to turn the child's emotions against the other parent. This definition is profound in that it is offered by an organization associated with the courts. Parental alienation is most often preceded by court intervention in divorce and custody cases. The alienator can use many different tactics to alienate children. A father could tell his child that the child's mother hates him and never wants to speak to a child when the mother is actually calling every day. A mother could convince a child to falsely report or even to believe that the father physically abused them. Alienators usually blame the other parent for the relationship problem and then punish the child for showing any affection toward the other parent. Severely restricting the time a child can spend with the other parent, especially when defying court orders, is a sign of parental alienation. Habitual negative comments about the other parent, blaming the other parent for any conflict, making or encouraging false accusations against the other parent, and threatening or creating any negativity if the child expresses any positive feeling about the absent parent are all typical alienating behaviors. This experience can be deeply upsetting for a child. He or she may feel confused and sad after the loss. Children seem to need to adjust to the confusing feeling that they still love one parent when the other hates them so intensely. Yet they have no evidence to counter the other parent's lies. They also cannot fully grieve their lost relationship because the process is so unstable and difficult to understand. Parental alienation can start with a parent relying on their child for emotional support, a need that intensifies during divorce. To continue supporting the parent and without evidence to the contrary, the child comes to believe and internalize the alienating parent's extreme hatred. Other motivations include revenge, jealousy, and the typical financial extortion. What kind of a person would try to alienate a child from their other parent is a reasonable question that is very important to answer. The situation usually originates with a parent who is narcissistic and/or has tendencies of borderline personality disorder. They may be motivated by a desire for revenge against the other ex, or they may need an outlet so desperately that they transfer their pain and rage to the child. Children do better when their parents raise them as amicable partners. To do so, parents should be supportive of the child's relationship with the other parent. They should seek outside support rather than turning to the child. They should hold any volatile discussions out of earshot and try to accept the new partner of their ex. Victims of parental alienation are the children just as much as they are the targeted parent. Although it is difficult to do, parental alienation must be fought by the targeted parent. There are two perspectives that are equally important in the fight against parental alienation: the legal and the psychological. They can at times be at odds with each other, but the art is in the syncing of those two that only you can create. This is the skill. This is a big part of what our parental alienation module is intended to accomplish. High conflict personalities are very difficult and require very specific skills. Consider this. There are 4 common high conflict personality disorders: borderline, histrionic, antisocial, narcissism. Add them up and you get 10% of all of us, and then consider how many of them make up the population that are in the custody court. They only need to be on one side of the case, so now 20% of cases, only a small number of cases make it to trial. One could then assume that every trial is a personality disorder show. If parental alienation is involved, it's a guarantee. How do the courts deal with it? Some don't. Parental alienation is not currently a specific diagnosis. Those that do, most vary in method and in outcome. There is nothing universal, even across the same judge's decisions. There are many mitigating and aggravating circumstances always. Here is some insight into a court's response alternatives. This is information gathered from the National Center for State Courts. There are 4 categories of responses. Criminal response. Some states make interference with custody a criminal offense. For example, New Jersey makes interference a crime of the 3rd degree that may lead to imprisonment for 3 to 5 years or a fine fine of $7,500 or both. All states make emotional child abuse or maltreatment of a child a criminal offense. Civil remedies. All courts can impose civil sanctions by way of contempt of court orders. These are things that the parent must file and is not something that the state takes action. Custody responses. All courts that have initial jurisdiction have the authority to modify previous custody orders. Responses to parental alienation can be to deny initial custody to the alienating parent. And last is therapeutic responses. Family laws, innovations, and reforms have become the showcase for therapeutic jurisprudence. This means the court is using therapy to repair legal issues or issues that find themselves in front of the court. Parental alienation cases provide opportunity to demonstrate how the strategy of replacing the punishment role of the courts with the therapeutic fix the problem approach can advantage children. The court could order an evaluation of the child to determine whether parental alienation is operative in a case, and if so, at what level, and appropriate terms for counseling and reunification. Time is of the essence in these scenarios. The successful path to get into a courtroom and have evidence for a realistic chance of your child being properly evaluated is a very narrow path. It's usually a one-time shot. This is a relatively new concept in courts, and there are not a lot of experienced attorneys on this complex issue out there yet. We believe our course increases your odds of success for you by helping you make the best choices and get the best results. Understanding the high conflict personality involved is necessary. Generally, there is a lack of empathy and a fear of something like abandonment driving pathological behaviors. This is with the alienating parent. The target parent is usually rather unassuming and moving on and often naive. The alienation can be done in anger or entirely unintentional due to anxiety the child picks up on or any number of combinations. The alienating parent usually feels rejected and then reacts based on their disordered personality, targeting the other parent with hatred and exposing it to the children. As I said earlier, why it happens is very important. Courts generally don't concern themselves with the whys and hows of a situation. They look for stability for the child to move forward. The why is so important for you to understand for two reasons. Because that is the evidence trail that you need to understand what is driving the other parent. You need to understand the threat to keep safe and peaceful. Ultimately, the solution is a mental health issue and not a legal problem. There is no way to implement mental health resources without a court order or, at a minimum, the threat of legal action. There is a dance between the legal and the mental health professions that is only synced up by you, the parent. This can easily cost a fortune and be unsuccessful. I think we help accomplish this most difficult task of syncing the gears together in our course program. There are specific things you can do to create boundaries and more peace for your child that are dependent on the other parent's personality type. We teach this, and you get a cheat sheet for reference so you can master the skills. If you know someone who may be going through something like this, please share this video with them. If you are going through this situation, please reach out.